Hi there, everyone. My name is Forrest, and today we're going to be doing another segment of the Alphagrad news review for October of the trending news that was able to be identified by Alphagrad and posted in their tech news channel. In this, let's go ahead and just dive right in. So, first and foremost, again, this is the Alphagrad news review for October trending news, and this was prepared by me, Forrest. Now, you may be thinking, well, Forrest, why do you care about this, and why is this important to you? So, first and foremost, who am I? I'm a cybersecurity professional that has worked in roles of both individual contributor and leadership. I'm currently pursuing my doctoral of science in cybersecurity. I hold a master's of science in cybersecurity and information assurance. I have 15 plus industry standard certifications related to technology and cybersecurity. I have multiple years now working in the field, and I'm also an industry researcher. Whenever I say I'm a nerd for security, I am definitely a big nerd about it. And if you've interacted with me in the Alphagrad Discord, you probably know that I really enjoy talking cybersecurity. So, whenever I was offered to do this project, I absolutely loved it. With that, we now have a few different trending articles that Alphagrad was again able to set up specifically related to cybersecurity for this week here. So let's just dive right into it. So, one of the articles identified was a closer look at the Snatch data ransom group. This was posted actually on Krebs on Security. And of course, if you're not familiar with him, Krebs is one of the, I'd say, most prominent security researchers that has garnered a lot of media attention in the past for just, frankly, the level of detail and quality to his investigations. And in this, we won't read it verbatim, but specifically, Krebs on Security is talking about this ransomware group Snatch. Now, I'll go ahead and give you the high levels of it, why it's important, why it's not, so on and so forth, and I'll provide you over a link to this article in the video description. So let's go back to the slideshow here. So in this, a closer look at the Snatch data ransom group. Now again, I won't read it to you verbatim, but there are some high level pieces of information that you should be aware of, right? First and foremost, why should you care? Why does this article stand out over any other article? And the main thing is that this type of attack is not designed specifically to go after just enterprises or enterprise users, right? The group is known for purchasing Google ad space and really linking them to malicious services, really impersonating legitimate softwares such as Discord or Mozilla, Adobe, Teams, anything else like that, right? And the biggest thing is they go after anyone and they'll blackmail you not only by exploiting ransomware on your device, which basically is locking you out of it effectively, but will blackmail you that you need to pay to not have exfiltrated data leaked. Now, what exactly does that mean and what has happened so far? So, specifically, the Snatch group is pulling Google ads to really represent those legitimate services that we commonly know, right? The Microsoft Teams, Adobe, Mozilla, Discord, anything else like that. And they're impersonating these legitimate softwares to get fake malware installed on the end user machine by the end user ultimately downloading it. And this group was known for their customized ransomware variant, in which Microsoft devices were rebooted into safe mode, which allowed ultimately the ransomware to execute without being blocked by the antivirus. Very high level as to why that occurs is because whenever it's in safe mode, only necessary devices really are, or I'm sorry, necessary softwares are actually running there. And as well, this group has been known to sit on machines, aka those devices, the computers, for anywhere up to 3 months to attempt to move around the network and exfiltrate files. Now, ultimately, what does this imply for the future? Well, there's a lot of different implications that can be happening with it. One of the realities is that each hop, basically anytime that they put another chain in their trace route or what their IP is, anything else like that, or any new identity or new IP, specifically those in different countries than previous ones, international law enforcement then has to go through another hoop to jump through, right? They have to legally attempt to get any form of persecution or data in accordance with the laws of each of those countries. And of course, one thing to keep in mind with this Snatch data ransom group, right? There's really no honor among thieves here. Snatch's founder was allegedly banned due to trying to cut out a portion of another bad actor's payday there. And there's a debate on if Snatch is really simply one group or two, with one of the groups, supposedly, trying to feign innocence and ignorance. So there's a lot that goes into this, and there's a lot that's going to be unpacked. With this, let's go ahead and move on to the next trending intelligence here. So one of the articles was, "Don't let zombie Zoom links drag you down." Now again, this comes to us from our friends on Krebs on Security here. And this was actually a tip from a Reddit user to Krebs on Security about some potential issues that we haven't necessarily seen in the wild yet. But again, do your own independent research and I'll give you the high level of it. So overall, what does this mean? And more importantly, why should you care? Regardless on if you use Zoom or not, many of the enterprises that use Zoom can be exploited due to web links that anyone can initiate a Zoom conference as a valid employee. Now, a potential scenario in this, let's just say you get an email from the president of company ABC saying they want to interview you for this role. Or even, let's just say a simple one, a manager, right? Well, that's a form of social engineering that can now be used if somebody picked up one of these at-risk zombie Zoom links. Let's go ahead and elaborate exactly what that means, right? So essentially what happens is that with any registered user of Zoom, they get a identifier. And then they can also have that identifier be their invite link. But the issue is, attackers can use that too. And they can impersonate this legitimate person by, well, frankly, accessing the link. They're not necessarily impersonating anything. It's coming from their link. But they can act as if they are legitimately that person and conduct social engineering attacks, right? So really at this time, what's been able to be identified is that Zoom links are really being able to be proven to be sniffable, with reportedly over thousands of organizations having Zoom links from just 2020 to 2022 that are exposed there. That said, there has been no reported exploit of these attacks as of yet for any social engineering attack. Now, what further can this imply is that, well, frankly, we're kind of in a waiting game. We need to see if this is going to be a new form of attack, or if it's going to be exploited for anything of social engineer attacks, or if it has and just hasn't been associated to it as yet. As well, we now have to see, with this vulnerability being identified, if Zoom considers this an actual vulnerability or the product working as intended and users taking on this risk. Ultimately, thousands of companies that are enterprise partners, aka have purchased Zoom, have unknowingly exposed themselves to be impersonated by any bad actors, and they as well likely need to have an impact analysis. Personally, I think that Zoom and those companies should likely pair together to figure out the impact. All that to say, remains to be seen. And this takes us to our last major article for today. Hacking gas pumps via Bluetooth. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to two separate articles here. And in this is going to be the actual article that is in the Alphagrad news feed, and as well the sourced article. So, the feed in Alphagrad is from Steiner on Security, and this is by Bruce here. And this is a small little blurb that Bruce did. Again, he identified that gas station pumps can be controlled via Bluetooth. Now, what impact that is and how many is remaining to be seen, but we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit more with this article. Last note as well, with this is specifically from Fox 2 Detroit that broke this story. identified a bit more details of what exactly was going on. Again, I'll provide both Bruce's article and this source article whenever it comes down to it, so you can do the independent research. But with that, let's get back to the slideshow and give you that high level. So, why should you care? Well, first and foremost, gas pumps appear to be really entering into this IoT space, that Internet of Things. However, with that, it's a bit unclear as to what the impact and scope of this all is going to be. Is this going to be all of the pumps, some of the pumps, geographic locations impacting this, and so on and so forth? We really have to see what is enabled and what is not for the industry at large. Further to this, the infrastructure that really supports them seems to be a bit insecure and unstable as well. In the article, it calls out how one of the clerks was attempting to push an override from their controls, but the local controls of the pump itself was overriding. So, again, let's elaborate a bit more. What's happened? Well, a group specifically in Detroit, or even a number of groups, have been using an open the pump style of theft. Basically a cool little way of saying we're hacking the pump. And this will override the short distance Bluetooth connection directly from the thief's phone and open the pump up for gas to disperse for free. In this, the thieves will go ahead and have multiple cars that kind of pull up. You know, they'll beckon people over, so on and so forth, really to provide free gas. And this is as much as one gas station that was a victim of this, losing nearly $3,000 in gas prices from this attack. Now, what I will say, what does this say about the future, right? And due to the nature of it, we have to really figure out what controls can be applied. Because this is on a IoT device over Bluetooth. And there tends to be very minimal controls, because if it is like an NFC, for instance, and just really anything that is a short distance transmission, really needs to be seen what can be applied and what makes sense from a business perspective to also be applied. Now, notice I said the word business perspective. One key other takeaway is this problem even worthwhile to solve? For instance, if the solutions require potential business impact or even an excess over the losses that they're losing, it's not really an appealing choice for any business to go ahead and, well, frankly, take on that risk. They'd rather just take the loss as opposed to taking the hit for implementing further controls. So lots to be seen here, but this was a pretty lighthearted topic to end on. Last little note here is, again, thank you all for this time. And if you have any other articles that you're seeing, please post them in the tech news in Alphagrad. That will go ahead and let me be able to review them, group them, and really just break them down as best as possible, at least from my perspective. Again, thank you all for tuning in. My name's Forrest, and thank you. Bye-bye.